Also, Australia actually has undergone a couple of changes when it comes to the student visa policy. So, can you shed some light on what are the new requirements that Australia produced on 30th of September for the
Yeah.
student visa applicants?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think we've got one thing to say. We've got an excellent, we've got a world-class regulatory framework where all of us, providers, our representatives, universities and staff, have to adhere to what we call the National Code and the ESOS Act under that. And time to time, that's understandably and rightly updated. So on the 30th of November, 30th of September, my apologies there was new evidence requirements, evidence level requirements for what we call genuine students. Now you can think like genuine students that took over. We used to have GTE, genuine temporary entrants. It's now called genuine students. Far more, I think, focusing on the intent of the student to come here to Australia. So the intent is to come here to study, get your degree, and then you return home to your other country. But students, of course, can avail themselves and apply for permanent residency after that and work in Australia. But essentially, it's directed at what is your intention as a student to come here and study, and I think that's important. So there's now three different levels, what we call level one, what we call the lower risk, higher level but lower risk when you see level one, where I guess it's a lane has been created where students do not have to go through a more rigorous process to obtain a visa. We have levels 2 and 3, and now India is now in level 2. And whilst that's great news for students who are looking at this podcast, EdTalk, thinking, well, that's good news, but I think we also have to be vigilant about the fact that where India is located and countries in South Asia. And there's now additional finance and academic documents for countries in level 2, of which there's India and a number of other countries. Then the countries in level 3, the new level 3, have to go into an increased emphasis on proving that you're genuine students. So it's when a student comes to apply and they're meeting a visa officer, they've been through Canam consultants, you've got to say, well, what's the purpose? Why am I coming here? They'll ask that, why are you doing that course? Why have you chosen Australia? Why that particular university? What's it going to really lead to? And then, so it's really thinking about, oh, I'd like to come to Australia and I'll do this course. No, just think about that. What's your real intentions of coming here? And most students have very good intentions, of course, coming to this country.
So a little introspection is good for the soul, I think, for everybody.
It is, yeah. Well put. Yeah.
Yeah. So since you mentioned the different levels in different countries, and India also moving between different levels in terms of the categories we had earlier, what do you think how it affects the documents that the students have to provide?
I think they have to be more vigilant. I think they have to be vigilant anyway, and I think it's a matter of being consistent. And I think it's trying to give even more than the minimum requirement. People think, well, we've got to have more detailed evidence, and here's the finances, and here's the personal capacity to pay, etc. But it's having as much documentation as possible in that regard, in order that the visa officer can look at that documentation and says, yes, that is legitimate. Yes, we understand the reasons for that. But as I said, the good news at that point in time on September was that India came up from level 3 up to level 2 category, but we still have to be vigilant. We all have to be cautious about that, how that looks. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think is the purpose of this new GS, the genuine student test? What do you think is the purpose actually behind it?
I guess great question. I think the purpose is what I was saying. It's really how visa applications are assessed by people in the post in New Delhi when students are coming through. So that's basically it. It was introduced originally back in March 2024 as a genuine temporary entrant, and the terminology hasn't changed, but the intent has also changed as well. So it's really saying, as I said before, what is your intention, having as much documentation as possible. There'll be sometimes you'll have a statement of purpose, could be a few hundred words, and it depends on the university that you're going to. Now that's important because what people have said, well, some universities don't require that, some do that, but I think students should, whichever university they're going to apply through Canam, always have the documentation there. Because someone said, do you have that? Oh, look, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had to have that. Well, it's important that you do have that, so that you're not caught and they think, oh, is he really or she really intent, genuinely intent. So I think that word means a lot. Genuine student, which was the subclass 500 visa per there.
All right. Since you stressed enough on the importance of keeping the documentation handy, do you think it's also important that the students should actually start prepping early?
Yeah, good, as early as possible. However, that could be months before, certainly not the night before. Think about it. Speak to people Canam here in Canam Consultants, people to advise you, to help you, to assist you. Speak to other students who've been through that process. You might have siblings or brothers and sisters, or what did you do? How did you do it? Get all that information there and say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. But do it well before, so that you're not rushing, and you're not seen to be rushing to put all the documentation through when the visa officer has a look through it, or indeed wants to interview you. And sitting there and then through an interview like this situation, why are you interested in coming to this university or not? So as early as possible. It can be never as too much time to do it, so that you don't do it the night before. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah. Why do you think students should still keep financial and their English language test documents ready, even if some providers don't require them or it's not mentioned anywhere?
I guess that's reiterating what I said, because if it's asked all of a sudden, you go along to an interview, you think, well, I don't need to have that particular university, that London, Sydney or Melbourne there doesn't ask it. So I'll go along and they say, oh, look, could you show me your documentation there? Sorry, I didn't need that. It's probably not a comfortable look for the visa person, even though you genuinely might have thought, well, I really didn't think I'd need it for that university, but it's to always have them there on hand anyway. And that can be related to English, academic, financial, support, family background, anything. Just have as much possible there, so that you're seen in every way as intent, and you've put that work through. You've undertaken that work, as we said, as early as possible, that you've got those documents there. But you're right, there are cases where some universities, no, we don't require that. But in the main, most universities do that. And in the main, I think most visa officers are going to be vigilant enough to ask for that at a particular point. You don't know. So if you don't know, just don't count the fact that they won't ask it or will ask it. So always assume that they perhaps will ask for that documentation.
Absolutely. And to end our session here, I'm going to ask you the last question of our session today. That is, what do you think that the Australian government student place cap is for the coming year, that is 2026? And how does it relate to the future planning, and how should the students look at it?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's probably not something that the students should be alarmed about in terms of what we just spoke about, genuine student. But I think this is a good move. I think it's what we have to sort of moderate sometimes the growth of international students for different reasons within Australia. And I think what's happened is that for 2026, they've said the notional cap will be 295,000 international students coming from all different countries to study for undergraduate, postgraduate, those any degree here in Australia. Now, it was 270,000 this year. It's gone up by about 12%. So it's gone up from 270,000 to 295,000. And I think it's tried to avoid peaks and troughs, as we say, so that it's what we call balanced growth leading to the future, in essence. But what it also does, there's what they say, and this is where I think students are not going to understand all of this, and neither they should. But I guess particularly universities are going to say, well, they have already met their capacity. Or other students, other universities, and it's regional universities too, many have not met that capacity. So those students will be on a sort of a faster track in order to be able to study there, because they have not, or they're not anywhere near their capacity, what they call the designated, they call them NOSCs. So it's a designated capacity level there. So what it's introduced is moderation, I think, in terms of a balanced growth for the future. Not something that should be alarming to any particular students, but quite interesting for students, parents, and Canam, us at Canam, to sort of look at and understand why the Australian government has done this, and I think it's a good move. But I think they've also made an edit focusing on three other aspects. Universities who do show that they're building more accommodation on campus for students, and some I think do that better than others, will be advantaged there if they're able to show that they're providing accommodation, or really good accommodation on campus, that they're looking at a focus on, whilst it's not in Southeast Asia, so there's the second point, and also T&E, what we call transnational education. So again, those three have been students saying, not that everybody must do that, but they're saying, well, if a university is embarking on those three policies, those criteria, then we will assist them in terms of that balanced growth for the future.
Wow, I'm sure the students who are listening to us, they're thinking the same thing that I am. What a wonderful time to be alive.
Well, it's a wonderful time to be alive. It's wonderful. It's something that I've been involved in international education for over 30 years. And people, I say, enjoy the journey. And I always say that to students, and I've been coming to India for 30 years now, and I'm not an expert, but I do understand where a lot of the parents, students, and what we have to advise, and that, and I guess being biased, but the positive influence that international education has on students and the whole experience, not just what they learn in the classroom, but meeting other people from other nationalities as well as Australians, and enjoying it, and the benefits of that, and then coming back in and then going on to future careers after that. I think it's a very satisfying to see that, and parents and students should be very proud of what they've achieved.
Yeah, it was wonderful talking to you, John. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure, Bharti. Thank you very much.